This is the Stock Day Podcast, sponsored by Ion Digital, providing secure, compliant ecosystems you can trust. That's Ion Digital. Subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube to stay up to date on penny stock news and interviews. Public information on OTC, pink sheets, and microcap stocks from around the world. Here's your host, Kevin Davis.
On today's show, we're bringing you a brand new company. Name of the company is Brera Holdings, PLC. They trade on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol BREA. With us today is the executive chairman of the company, Mr. Dan McClory. Dan, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Excellent. I'll tell you what, before we get underway, why don't you give all of our listeners a backstory to your company via a company statement?
Yeah, that's outstanding. Brera Holdings is an Irish-based company that, as you pointed out, is listed on Nasdaq. And it's focused on an expanding area that, frankly, we pioneered called social impact soccer. That's what we call it in the U.S., or social impact football. And it involves a multi-club ownership model, meaning we've announced and we will continue to announce acquisitions of other soccer teams beyond our home market in Italy. And we are the first Italian soccer team to list on either NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, which we did back at the end of January of this year in a firm commitment underwritten IPO. We enjoy great brand recognition in our home market. We're known as the third team of Milan. The two teams ahead of us have over $1 billion valuation each.
Wow.
And we're really looking to create value from a bottom-up approach, which is going into tertiary and secondary markets of Europe, buying first division teams, in many cases rebranding them Brera, and then have a holding company full of this multi-club ownership. Each one of those teams, if they win their country, would have a chance to go to a UEFA tournament, turn significant appearance and prize money. And these are countries, by the way, that don't immediately come to mind when you think of Europe. I'm talking about places like North Macedonia, Liechtenstein, Andorra, Gibraltar, San Marino. You might even call them, Kevin, micro-states. But you could win Andorra and it'd be like winning Spain. And you go on to a UEFA tournament and next thing you know, you're getting significant prize money. And there's also the opportunity to exchange players in what's called the transfer market between those various clubs. So there are some very interesting economies. And furthermore, we've created a feeder system out of Africa with a new team we've established in the second division of Mozambique to create talent, to develop it, and to onboard it into Europe when appropriate.
Dan, one thing I'm hoping you can help me understand before we really get into the Q&A here. What is the popularity of soccer worldwide? I mean, we like soccer here in the United States. We call it soccer. In every other country, it's pretty much called football, which makes sense because you're hitting the ball with your foot. But me not being a soccer player and not being a huge sports aficionado, I really want to know from a market perspective, how popular is soccer? Can you help me out with that?
Well, Kevin, that's almost like a planted question because it's the most popular sport in the world. So football, or the beautiful game as it's referred to, is viewed and enjoyed by more people globally than any other sport that would come to mind by a large margin. So not only is it the most popular sport, but it enjoys fan followings that are quite impassioned. We may experience here in the U.S. during the World Cup or the Olympics when we get behind our country or other countries to battle against themselves, but it is a 24/7, 365-day-a-year literal pursuit for the rest of the world. Yes, it is. It enjoys quite the popularity worldwide.
Wonderful. One of the things that you talked about in your about statement was a concept called multi-club ownership of soccer teams. How is that relevant to your company?
Well, we've all heard about the billionaire owners and the marquee teams like Chelsea and Manchester United or Paris Saint-Germain. And, sometimes those owners are beloved. Sometimes they're hated. In the case of Manchester United, for example, the Glazer family. So multi-club ownership says don't put all your eggs in one basket. By controlling stakes or even minority positions in a number of clubs, in a number of geographies, in a number of markets, perhaps in a number of different division levels, and diversify and hedge your bets. So multi-club ownership is really coming to the fore with the arrival of significant amounts of private equity capital and high net worth capital that's literally flooded the global football market. And you see it most in Europe. The Premiership in the UK is a prime example of that. But again, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have several lotto tickets instead of just one, and be in a position to create synergies between the various clubs, whether it's movement of players, co-branding opportunities, common sponsors, coaching staff. Could be a number of efficiencies that you would come into.
No, that absolutely makes sense. I want to shift gears and talk about Brera FC in Milan. You know, what is that? How does it fit into the concept of social impact soccer? And, you know, I know that's based in Italy, but what does it mean globally besides Italy?
Yeah, Brera FC was established over 20 years ago in Milan, Italy, the industrial and financial capital of Italy, based in the north, by a couple of friends of mine that I've known for 30 years. And in the DNA of Brera FC was always the social impact facet. And just so we don't create any impressions here that aren't accurate, Brera plays right now in about the 7th division in Italy. It's been as high as the 4th division, which is called Serie D. But that's not what Brera FC stands for. That's not what Brera plays for. Brera plays for having a rainbow roster, a team that's composed of immigrants, refugees, unemployed, college students. And they come together and play in the highest end, most wealthy area of Milan, which is Brera. It's a place name for the center of Milan.
Interesting.
At an arena that dates back to the age of Napoleon, the oldest continuous soccer playing stadium in Europe. And Brera FC took this model of social impact soccer and implemented it aggressively. So you will find over the years that Brera has put together leagues inside of prisons, prisoners playing each other, prisoners and guards playing together. They've created programs to teach children of immigrants at vocational technical schools how to play the beautiful game. They put together a soccer school where the children of the wealthy of Milan come to and play in this historic arena, and it's instructed by this rainbow roster of players. And it's garnered a lot of media attention within Italy. There's been a mini-series done on the state broadcaster. There's been a tournament created by Brera FC called the Phoenix Trophy, and it's known as the Champions League for amateurs in Europe. That's what the BBC actually calls it. Brings together teams similar to Brera from this year, 9 different countries in Europe that will play in the final at San Siro, another legendary stadium in Milan. But it's really about the catchline of the company, which is, of the team, I should say, which is making friends, not millionaires. And of course, now that we're listed on Nasdaq, we talk about making friends into millionaires. I'm just joking. By virtue of following the company and supporting it. So in today's age of ESG and social impact and impact investing, this whole area has become an extremely hot topic. But guess what? Brera didn't just put that on 5 minutes ago to look fashionable. Brera's had it in its DNA and its very makeup, its character, for more than 2 decades. So we get a lot of attention from the media, a lot of attention from corporate sponsors who would like to associate with that brand. And like so many great brands coming out of Italy, we are exporting that brand, and we're putting the Brera brand on football clubs in other parts of Europe as well as Africa.
You guys completed your IPO about 90 days ago, and you're now on the Nasdaq under BREA. Tell me about your acquisition strategy.
Sure. Well, as you would know from many of the other companies that you feature on the show, Kevin, having a Nasdaq-listed company gives you a tremendous platform to execute an acquisition strategy. Of course, raising capital from the firm commitment IPO was key, and it was a very modest amount, $7.5 million that we raised. It's a challenged IPO market nowadays. But having the Nasdaq shares to be able to use for acquisitions has been of great interest because we've received lots of inbound from teams that would like to sell to us, some from teams that would like to buy us, others from various vendors and organizations that would like to sell us things to help us in our business. But having that Nasdaq platform and being the first Italian football team to list in the U.S. and in particular on Nasdaq is a great advantage. So when we go into these smaller markets I mentioned before, Liechtenstein, Andorra, Gibraltar, San Marino, and we talk to clubs there after they've contacted us about possible acquisition scenarios, it has really, really worked out well to be a Nasdaq-listed company.
Absolutely. Folks, you've been listening to Dan McClory. He's the executive chairman of the company Brera Holdings, PLC. They do trade on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol BREA. They also have a great website over on the internet there at www.breraholdings.com. That's going to be BRERA holdings.com. I'll tell you what, Dan, I want to give you the final word. What do you want folks to take away from today's interview?
Well, I think they should understand that in this global industry of soccer, we'll call it football again, which is what everybody outside of America refers it to as, there are a lot of villains. There are a lot of bad guys. There are a lot of billionaire owners that fans don't like, and they think that the owners don't care about them and making money off of their backs and buying and selling players. This industry needs a hero. And Brera FC is the hero of the football industry. We're doing it from the ground up with social impact. We're doing it in marginalized tertiary markets of Europe and Africa. We're doing it with our rainbow roster of players who are immigrants, refugees, unemployed college students. So if this industry needs a hero, they have found one in Brera. And our diversified multi-club ownership model means we're going to have a lot of lotto tickets out there. We're going to have a lot of possibilities for upside as we execute on that strategy, which we've been telling since our SEC filings in our IPO. So stay tuned. Watch us continue to execute. Look for the hero of the global football industry. Look for a leader in multi-club ownership that allows investors in whatever modest way or large way to be able to participate in the growth of that global football industry, but with our very unique model made in Italy of social impact soccer.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for wrapping that up for us, Dan. I want to see you on the show in the next 30 to 60 days as you guys make progress. In the meantime, everybody at home, check them out. They're on the Nasdaq, trading under BREA. Dan, until I see you again, I hope you're well and keep building up that great company.
That's right. Go Brera, BREA. Go Brera. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Go Brera. You're very welcome.
This program is entirely sponsored and produced by La Jolla Media, LLC, which is responsible for the content. The opinions and information provided on this program are for educational and research purposes. Stock Day encourages all listeners of this program to do their due diligence and research when determining investment strategies that will work for them, or to seek the assistance of an investment professional.